Hello and welcome to this interview with GB Softball Under-23 captain Thomas Russell. Tom, we'll just start off by saying, how did you get into the sport?
Well, sort of started playing at school really. One of the teachers from school used to play a lot and played in the Manchester League and played a bit for GB. And then just started playing in IP lessons and stuff at school. And then they started running sessions after school that me and a few of my mates went to. And then it just I went from there really, sort of like playing for school and being brought into like league teams in Manchester. So no, it's been good fun.
Yeah. So you talk about getting into the league system at Manchester. Do you feel like that's really helped you with like your development and that, and getting into the sport sort of thing?
I think so, yeah, because especially in like the Manchester League, there's so many different levels. They've got 5 divisions now, so whatever like level you are to start with, there's always a place for you to start. Like whether you start near the top or down the bottom, I think there's such a wide variety of abilities that I think playing in a league like that is definitely really good to help you improve and help you just stay within the game as well, I think.
So where did you start then when you came into the team? Did you start lower down and work your way up, or did you get into that first top division or second division?
Well, when I started, I sort of ended up going straight in the first division, but that's again at that stage probably wasn't quite ready for it, but it was definitely a good way to like challenge me early on and get me ready for it. So definitely glad that I did start there, because I think I probably learned so much early on about my game and then just the game of softball as a whole. Really, I think starting at the top might be a bit daunting for some, but I think because I'm quite competitive and always want to try and be the best at whatever I try and do, I think starting there worked quite well for me, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on from that, obviously you started in Manchester there, and you've obviously progressed to the the GB setup. So can you talk me through like the process of that? Like how did you get into it and how it's progressed from then on?
Well, again, it sort of comes from playing through the leagues. I think all of the leagues across the country are in like contact with some of the GB coaches, and so I went from there. So some of the league heads in Manchester were asked by all the GB coaches to put names forward. Probably 5-6 years ago now, when I'm trying to think, I was probably 15 or 16 when I got like into the GB program. So yeah, it sort of went through there, and then Ian Tomlin, who's been the junior GB head coach for a number of years now, obviously came and watched players at tournaments, and we all went down to trial day in Nottingham, and yeah, we just sort of got seen from there, and then worked your way through the program. So that's always a good way to start. I think there was quite a lot of us that were very new to it when I went in. There was probably 7 or 8 of us that hadn't been in the GB setup before we went down to the first trials in Nottingham. So it was definitely nice, like a comfortable way to start getting into the program, I think.
Yeah, so at GB is the different levels in terms of like under 16s, under 18s, under 23s, and all that. How does it work in sort of those like systems?
I think when I started for the men's side of it, we had an under 19s team, and then there was the men's. There was quite a big like gap between the two, I think, at the time. So it was quite hard to try and like keep players interested once you've aged out the under 19s. It was quite a big gap. But yeah, in the last probably only the last couple of years, they've brought in an under 23s. So they've now got under 18s, which is anybody up to about college. And then we've got an under 23s as well now. So I think it bridges the gap quite nicely between like juniors and men's. I think the women have got a similar set. I think they've got an under 15s as well on the women's side of it. But I know on the men's side it's a lot better now. I think having 18s, 23s and men's that all work and train together as well, I think is quite nice, because it sort of helps bridge that gap between the two, that all of the coaches of the higher up teams know who you are before you get there.
Yeah, and I suppose it's important to have that connection between all the setups in order to see the development of everyone. And I suppose the ones that for the men's team can help like almost teach the younger people how like their ways in that, and how to go about things.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think it works quite well, because you've got the younger players can look up to the players that are in the men's setup, and they've got somewhere to effectively aspire to be. Really, like they can look at the players saying, in 3 or 4 years' time, I can be that player. So I think it's quite a nice way, especially for me, recently being able to. Obviously, I'm sort of starting to break in towards the men's setup, hopefully, and hoping to get picked for the European Championships this summer if they go ahead. But yeah, it's quite nice to have everybody working together. So yeah, everybody knows everybody, and the coaches know you all. And yeah, it's just a good way for the younger players to learn, I think, off the slightly older and more experienced players.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of like the GB softball itself, is it like demanding in terms of its like workload and all that on you? As a student, going to I know you have to travel down to London a few times. A few times over the years to just like get that practice in. How has that been for you?
It's not been too bad. 'Cause I think one sort of I'd say a help, but like the fact that my last couple of years of uni, when it's obviously our uni is going to be at its most challenging, has been during the whole like COVID period. So we haven't had as much training, so I have been able to concentrate a bit more on my studies and stuff. But obviously now that training started again last weekend, and we're training the weekend, the next a couple of weekends coming up, it is quite difficult to juggle everything. But it's all just about I've been able to plan ahead, really. Like as long as you know when you've got free time to get your work done, it's relatively straightforward to do. But it is quite a demanding program, especially the higher up you end up. And we started having strength and conditioning sessions online the last couple of months now during COVID, just to sort of get people ready. So it is what you make of it, really. Obviously, all of the training with GB is only probably once every couple of weeks because of our difficulties with travel and everything. But the amount of time that you put into the sport and I train it in your own time, it's what you make of it, really. It's as demanding as you make it, but obviously the more work you put in, the better you're going to get. So
Yeah, definitely. And then just like you mentioned about traveling down and that, how has that affected you in terms of like just like probably like tiredness and all that as well? Because if you're from like Sheffield, doing you're doing degree in Sheffield but from Manchester. Like I know you drive as well. I don't know if you travel down with other people on that, but how's that like physically on you? Because if you're doing strength and conditioning sessions down there, it's going to affect your tiredness coming back, and then from the days leading on to
uh, it has been a bit of a challenge, but that's why it's quite nice with being able to like share driving. Like me and my mum normally share the driving going down. We're giving people lifts. It's not like I'm having to drive 3.5 hours myself both ways, kind of thing. But yeah, it like the 5:30 starts to leave can get quite tiring, but you do start getting used to them. Like it is what it is, really. You've got to sort of make what you can from it. There's just quite a lot of sleeping in the car. We're trying to do work in the car if and when you need to. But no, the tiredness can be a bit of fun, but again, you do get used to it. Like early season's always tough every year, but by the time you get into it, you do it most weekends, you slowly start getting used to it. But most of our strength and conditioning stuff is all done online from home, so that's not too bad. But obviously, all of the training and tournaments and matches down there can be a lot of early starts, but you get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. Just for like in terms of 2021, I know we'll talk about COVID and in a little while, but in terms of like plans for GB under 23s, obviously you're the captain, and is there anything planned for this year? I know it's very hard to predict anything that's going to go on, but do you have any set plans of like training or like even tournaments that you're going to go to?
Well, we were supposed to have a European Championships this summer. I think there was supposed to be a World Cup qualifier this summer for the World Championships that was supposed to be in October, but they've been cancelled, obviously because of COVID. But yeah, apart from that, we've just got GBFL, which is like our Great Britain fastpitch league down in Slough, which is like it's 5 days, like 5 separate days at weekends over the summer. So we've got an under 23s and an under 18s team like in that tournament. So playing against 2 or 3 different club teams in the country full of all of the GB players, really, which is always good to do. Like we'll have training throughout the summer. We start first proper GB training sessions this Sunday. So now it's good to get back playing again. And yeah, we haven't got any like major tournaments this summer for the under 23s, but we've got European Championships are being rearranged for next summer. So I think it's next July. We're in the Czech Republic for a week and a half for European Championships obviously if I get picked, so we'll worry about that nearer the time. But yeah, we haven't got any major plans for this year, which is a bit frustrating, but we just need to stay on top of it and prepare ourselves for next year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned how like COVID has affected those tournaments, and but just want to see how it's affected the GB team and what measures have you gone to like keep active during these in England 3 lockdowns and everything else.
Well, yeah, it's obviously been tough. I haven't seen a lot of the squad for well over a year now because of obviously not being able to travel. So saw a couple last week and was in training. Obviously, see the large part of the squad for training again this Sunday. So that's sort of been a big thing, like mentally as well. Like not being able to see a lot of my best mates that have obviously come through that I know through GB softball, and yeah, not seeing them for a while is obviously always going to be tough. And not being able to train, obviously as a team, like people can do training by themselves, but it's never quite the same, as I'm sure you can tell with softball and other sports. Really, it's never really the same doing it like by yourself. But that's what it's been quite nice having the strength and conditioning stuff that was done online as a squad. So sit in big group Zoom calls, and one of the coaches will run through a strength and conditioning session. We've had one of the German national team players who's been doing a strength and conditioning session for us every Saturday, which has been really good. Or it's just I play YouTube videos and going through them, just going through strength and conditioning. It just helps us see each other and obviously get ourselves fit and ready for the season.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot more. Would you say it's a lot more independent now? Now, obviously, you can't really, meet up because everyone's really around the country. And it's hard to get everyone in the same place. But I feel like a lot of the work now is a lot independent, and that creates like a mindset in yourself.
I definitely over the last year, yeah, sort of you can't rely on everybody else trying to push you at training. Like obviously, I getting yourself down to Slough for training normally is once you're there, you're obviously going to do things, but you sort of have to force yourself to join these Zoom calls, force yourself to work in your own time. No one's going to spoon feed you, especially at this age. Like in the under 23s, it's slightly older team now, so a lot of the trust and the effort is put onto the players to sort themselves out really, and yeah, enforce themselves to do their own work. If they've not done it, the coaches are going to tell when we get back to playing again. So yeah, it's just a case of so as you were saying, it is a lot more based off working by yourself now, which I think even long term when we get back as a squad, everybody's going to be in much better shape, being able to know how to work by themselves, which they've had to do over the last year.
Yeah, I understand. And just finally, just on like in terms of your ambitions as well, because there's a lot of like you know there's a lot of progression in this system, and as you said, you've gone through the ranks at the minute. And in terms of like, I know again, we talk about COVID every time, but like, how is that going to affect you in the future in terms of your ambition to maybe get to that men's team? And that.
Well, I don't think COVID itself has obviously necessarily changed my ambitions have always been to sort of try and cement myself within the men's squad. Like the last probably couple of years, I've been in and around the men's squad, been on a couple of like warm-up tours with the full men's team, which has been nice. We've got a new head coach for our men's team now, so obviously that has a whole load of new challenges to get yourselves back in. It's a clean slate and a fresh start for everyone. So definitely going to be a bit of hard work. We're supposed to have the men's European Championships in June, so main aim at the moment is to get myself picked for that, whether they happen or not. I think the squad will definitely get selected because I think we'll have to select a squad before we know whether it's going to be on or not. So yeah, just a case of trying to work hard and get myself in that men's team, and got into the GB slow pitch team as well a couple of years ago now. So it's just a case of trying to balance those two and just push as hard as I can, really trying to get in as many tours away with the GB team as I can, really.
Yeah, that's all. That's brilliant. That'll be it for this interview. But thank you very much for coming on and talking to me. Thank you very much.
No problem.